And welcome to The Explainer. So, the culture wars, they're literally everywhere, right? You've got brands like Bud Light and Nike caught right in the middle. But while we're all busy picking sides, what if I told you someone is actually betting on the conflict itself? Today, we're going to follow the money to uncover a hidden network of investors who profit from the outrage no matter who wins. It feels like you just can't escape it. You see these huge brands, and they're diving headfirst into these super heated debates, taking stands on really sensitive social issues. And what happens? Well, consumers declare war, and they use their wallets as their weapons. And this phrase, go woke, go broke, it's become this huge rallying cry, right? It's all about organizing these big consumer boycotts against companies that people see as pushing so-called woke values. The whole idea is simple. Hit them where it hurts, the wallet. I mean, just look at the whole Bud Light thing. After they partnered with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, a lot of their longtime customers felt completely betrayed. The backlash from conservatives was fast, it was huge, and man, did it hammer the company's sales. And it wasn't just Bud Light. We saw pretty much the same kind of outrage aimed at Nike and Adidas. Why? For featuring LGBTQ+ athletes and models in their ads for women's clothing. People went nuts on social media. Some even filmed themselves burning their own sneakers in protest. So the whole thing gets framed like this epic battle for the soul of business. On one side, you've got what they call woke capitalism, where brands are trying to align with social causes. And on the other side, you have these really powerful consumer boycotts trying to push back. But here's the question. What if it's not that simple? What if this isn't just a two-sided war? What if there's this whole other story hiding in plain sight? One about who's actually cashing in, no matter which side wins. Okay, let's really dive into this. All right, so let's get into it. Let's look at the actual front lines. You could say the most visible battle of 2023 was fought over a single can of beer. And the financial fallout? It was absolutely undeniable. And boy, the Bud Light case was dramatic. The partnership goes live in April. By May, boom, weekly sales had cratered by more than 28% compared to the year before. And by June, it had actually lost its top spot as America's #1 selling beer. Okay, so the logic here seems pretty straightforward, right? When Bud Light loses, its main competitor, Coors Light, has to win. That's the whole point of a boycott. But is it really that simple? Let's try asking a different question. What if all that fighting between Bud Light and Coors Light, what if it's all just noise? What if the real money is being made by someone who owns a nice, big piece of both companies? To really get what's going on, you have to look past the brand logos. You gotta look at who actually owns them. And that's where we meet the real players in this game, the ones operating way behind the scenes, far away from all the social media drama. Okay, so we're talking about these specific financial firms called asset managers. Basically, they manage these gigantic pools of money, from pensions, from your 401k, from everyday investors, and they use it to buy stocks in thousands of companies. The three biggest are called the Big Three: BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And their size, it's mind-boggling. Together, these three firms manage almost $23 trillion. To put that in perspective, that is more than the entire economic output of the United States for a whole year. Yeah, their dominance is absolutely staggering. The Big Three control about 3/4 of the entire market for stock ETFs, exchange-traded funds. And because these funds are like big baskets holding stocks from pretty much every major company out there, their reach is, well, it's almost total. Okay, so let's connect the dots here. What happens when we take what we now know about these giant firms and look at who owns the companies that are supposedly at war with each other? This is where it gets really interesting. All right, let's go back to Bud Light. If we look at their parent company, Anheuser-Busch, and check out their biggest institutional investors, well, you start to see some familiar names. Yep, BlackRock and Vanguard are right there near the top of the list. Okay, now for the wild part. Here are the top owners of their biggest competitor, Molson Coors, the company that supposedly won the boycott. It's the exact same firms. And look, they have even bigger stakes here. They win no matter which beer you grab from the cooler. And you see this pattern everywhere. It's not just beer. They're top shareholders in Disney, which gets called a woke media giant all the time. And at the exact same time, they're top shareholders in Fox News' parent company, News Corp. They own the outrage and the reaction to the outrage. So what's going on? Why would they do this? Well, the logic is actually pretty simple. The strategy isn't about picking a winner in the culture war. It's about owning the entire battlefield. It's a business model that literally gets a dividend from division. You can actually break the whole system down into 4 steps. It works like this. First, a company does something controversial. Second, the media, which remember these guys own a piece of, blows it up to get clicks. Third, social media platforms, which, yep, they also own a piece of, get insane engagement from all the fighting. And fourth, all that activity, all those clicks and ads, it all flows up as profit to the same small group of top investors. Just look at political ads on a platform like Facebook, which is owned by Meta. In a big election year, both sides are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get their message out. And who wins? The platform. And by extension, its biggest shareholders, like, you guessed it, Vanguard and BlackRock. They win big no matter who spends more and no matter who wins the election. So you see, from a Wall Street point of view, the culture war isn't some ideological fight that has to be won or lost. It's just a perfectly hedged portfolio. It's not opposition, it's just business. A business that thrives on conflict. And this, right here, this is maybe the most important takeaway from all of this. When you participate in a boycott, when you share that angry post or get into an argument in the comments, you're basically the fuel for this whole machine. Your emotional engagement is literally their most valuable asset. So the next time you feel yourself getting pulled into one of these massive online fights, it's really worth stopping for a second and asking yourself this one question. If they're the ones profiting from all the fighting, who are you really fighting for? That's all for this explainer. Thanks for joining us.